Horizon Milling packages their flour in bags of all sizes, from 2 pounds to 50 pounds. In one day, they can produce nearly 1.7 million pounds of flour. That's enough to make over 400,000 loaves of bread.
But that's not all. This pantry essential is used for baking cookies, cakes, muffins, and more.
This Scandinavian and Eastern European delicacy has been eaten since the Middle Ages. To this day, herring remains one of the top 3 most fished species in Europe.
And there's still plenty of fish in the sea.
The stocks are healthy and sustainable. Many grocery stores now are requiring that you use sustainable fish.
Coming from a long line of herring experts, Lorne Krongold grew up in the business and now runs Feature Foods in Ontario, Canada.
The Krongold are herring slingers by heritage, going back to actually our days in Poland in the 1800s, when they sold barrels of herring from town to town.
Feature Foods is one of the largest producers of marinated herring in North America.
It's sort of in your blood, the fish business.
For over 300 years, salted herring has been transported in barrels, although they used to be wood. One barrel has enough herring to fill 175 jars.
The herring have already been portioned and given a first brine, which is a salty marinade that helps them stay fresh in transit. Kwaku rinses away the brine, and the fish is drained before getting its second layer of flavor.
They go through 15,000 kilos of fish in a day.
You're talking 40, 50,000 fishies in a day.
That's approximately 300,000 wild-caught fish each week.
They call this the cure, or pre-pickle, because just like any pickle, the brine will add flavor as well as shelf life.
You allow your curing solutions, which include vinegar, sugars, special spices. You let it sit in those solutions, and that's why herring is particularly good. It's well suited to absorbing these flavors.
For 2 days, the herring marinates in the pre-pickle.
The traditional jarred herring recipe requires onions. As this is a traditional recipe, they use plenty of them. Up to 3,000 pounds of onions in one day.
Gwendolyn, she's my onion lady. No more tears.
I worked 15 years, so I get used to it now.
Onions and herring pass along separate conveyors. Both fall into scales measuring out an 80-20 ratio, 80% herring to 20% onions. The 2 ingredients fall together onto a vibrating table that makes it easier for quality control testing.
The women will be looking to making sure there's no objectionable pieces of fish or onions.
Given the all clear, the herring and onions shuffle up to the pocket weigher.
Well, this is our smart machine. Each pocket weighs out a fixed amount, which then it drops down into the shuttle system, which ultimately fills the jar.
The jars are already sterilized. They get a shot of brine, then they're filled with the fish and onions. In one shift, these machines can fill up to 25,000 jars.
Then they go under a metal detector to pass the second stage of quality control. The jars are filled with what's called the cover brine. Keeping everything traditional, there's just a hint of wine in this mix.
It's ceremonial, right? Which means in these vast tanks of brine, there's a few drops of wine.
Every minute, 60 jars get a neck band heat sealed around the lid. Then 12 jars go into each box.
But before they're sold, they need to spend a little time in the jars.
It needs to spend time in the jar to finish the curing process. That's to absorb all the spices into the fish and get the flavor that we want.
After 1 week, the flavors are perfectly in sync, and it's time to head out to the stores. The herring is sent all over North America, also to Japan and Mexico. Find it in the refrigerated section of grocery stores.